Okay, so today I want to talk about something just a little bit different. I have been traveling almost nonstop in this last year. I just left California, I'm in Utah, then I go to Colorado, and then I go to Texas. So I'm all over the place all the time. And because of that, I'm constantly on the hunt for one of the most important and essential travel accessories or items that there possibly could be. And that is a good pair of noise canceling headphones. Now I've been testing 3 different ones that I think are price effective, and I'm going to tell you all about them. Let's get into it. Okay, and so for me, in order to tell you if they're worth it or not, I have decided that I'm gonna rank them 1 out of 3 in a couple different categories, and then you can kind of make your decision based off of that. Now, keep in mind also, I have really weird ears. I know that's a weird thing to say, but a lot of headphones don't feel comfortable in my ears, so I usually rank those categories a lot lower because I can never find a tip or a size or anything that fits right. I feel like it's constantly in pain, especially when I wear AirPod Pros, so just a little heads up on that. Okay, now I will say the best pair of headphones off the top. Now I'm not gonna put this in there as competing because this is technically over the ears, but I've been using my Sennheiser PXC 550 noise canceling over the ear headphones. What a mouthful, for like the last 3 years, and they are by far still the best headphones I have ever traveled with. Typically what I do is I travel with one of my little wireless, Bluetooth earbuds, and I have those in up until the boarding process starts, and then I switch over to my over-the-ears for my actual ride or flight, whatever it's considered. I guess it's a flight, but you're also riding in an airplane when you think about it. And then when the flight lands, I put these away and go back to my wireless. I don't know why I do it that way, but I always travel with a couple pairs of headphones because of battery issues, charging, and things like that. So overall, if you have the money, these are more expensive than any other ones I'm gonna mention. If you have the money like over the ear, these absolutely fantastic. Links to all of these down below. Okay, so first up that I want to talk about is True Blue tried and tested AirPod Pros. Now these have pretty much been my go-to and my only noise canceling earbuds for a really long time until I tested out these other two. And overall, AirPod Pros are fine. So the first category is going to be comfort in the ear. Now personally, I rank these the lowest and probably the least comfortable out of all the headphones that I have, so I would give these a 1. I feel like the tips, even though they come in 3 different sizes, none of them really fit anybody's ear, and after a while, no matter what, I just feel like that hard plastic that's up against your ear on the inside just eventually starts to hurt. I feel like the way that these things have like their little prongs that stick out, they just never quite fit right in the ear. Now maybe I'm just stupid, which is very possible, but I've never really been able to get these to feel comfortable or fit right. And the next category is noise cancellation. Now personally, I would give these a 3. I think they're probably the best in terms of noise cancellation out of all the ones I'm going to talk about. Honestly, the noise cancellation on these is even better than my PXC 550s. So take with that information what you will, but when it comes to noise canceling, I feel like these definitely take the cake. And the next category is going to be sound quality. Now personally, I would rank these, I want to say 3, but I'm gonna have to go with 2. I feel like they do have good sound quality, but I feel like the basses could be a little bit better and the trebles don't always mix, and sometimes the vocals feel a little flat in some areas. Now I know that kind of depends on your streaming service app, because some apps let you customize like the vocal settings and the audio settings inside the app. I know like Spotify lets you do that. I think YouTube Music does as well. So that can sometimes play in a factor in what the sound quality is like, but I feel like these do have a pretty decent sound quality. They're definitely not horrendous, but they're nothing spectacular. Okay, and the last category is going to be like battery life and chargeability. So the battery life on these is actually really, really solid, which is why I think they're so popular, especially for travel, because even with just having the headphones in, I had them in for 3 hours, put them back in the case, and within 30 minutes, they were like almost fully charged. I didn't even kill them in that entire 3 hours. So I feel like, and 3 hours isn't really that long of a time, but the battery life on these is pretty good, not to mention the fact that this case charges really fast, and the case can charge these things back to full like 3 different times, making them really convenient, especially when you're traveling. Okay, and the next pair of headphones are the Samsung Galaxy Buds version number 2. Okay, now I honestly really like these things. I was a little hesitant at first. I got a pair for my partner, and then I decided to catch a pair for myself. Now these are the smallest and probably the easiest to transport out of all of these, and overall are just a very surprisingly good headphone. Okay, so the first category is comfort. Now personally, out of the wireless ones that aren't over the ear, I think these are the most comfortable. They do a really good job of fitting really nice in your ear. The only downside to these when it comes to the comfort factor design is like on the AirPod Pros, where you touch and click to control it. Same with the Beats that I'm going to show you as well, and same as the PXCs. These, if you ever have to adjust them in your ear, like maybe they're starting to fall out, you feel like it's a little loose, maybe you just want to push it in a little bit more, because the touch on them is so sensitive, and it's one touch to pause and like touches to skip. If you go to fix it, it'll 9 out of 10 times pause your music, which to me has been extremely inconvenient, but honestly, they're very comfortable, so I'd give them a solid 3 on the comfort factor. Okay, in the second category being noise cancellation. Now, these are probably the third best on this list. I would say it goes AirPod Pros, then the PXC 550s, then these, and then the Beats that I'm going to show you. I think the noise canceling is really solid on these. It's not the best. You can definitely still hear some of those louder noises like babies crying, crashing, banging. And I use these as specific examples because as I was waiting for my flight, there was a kid banging something metal on a wooden cutting board that his mom bought in the airport while there was a screaming baby down the way. And I had these in at the time, and I ended up changing them out for these because the noise was just getting through just a little too much for my taste. So with that being said, I just realized that was gonna be my cut spot, but I just realized, with that being said, solid, I would give them a 2 out of 3 on the noise cancellation. Okay, sound quality on these bad boys, solid 3, very, very superb. I honestly really enjoy listening to a lot of my like heavier albums, and I say that like, I'm not like a metalhead, but like albums that have like heavier bass and like deeper vocals and things like that. I really enjoyed listening to with these because I feel like the basses are just good enough, especially if you adjust it just a little bit inside your app to be kind of how you want. And I feel like the vocals are really, really solid, as well as just like overall sound mixing quality. It just sounds pretty phenomenal. So I would give these a solid 3. And if you're wondering what the best one is for sound quality, still the PXCs. The only thing that these kind of lack in is the noise canceling. And the last category on these is chargeability. So the one perk about the AirPods is that if you have an iPhone, iPad, a Mac, and things like that, like I have, you already have an Apple charger. Whereas the Samsung and the Beats use like the Android chargers, the bigger USB-Cs, and the PXC 550s take the small USB-C. So they all take different chargers, which can kind of be a downside. But because, and I said Mac as an example for Apple chargers, it's not entirely true. Because I have a Mac and it uses that larger USB-C input charging cable, these actually charge really fast, especially if you have a fast charger. I feel like the battery life on these when you're wearing them as headphones is really solid as well. I feel like overall they last a pretty long time, and you pop them back in the case and it charges them fairly quickly. I think the charging factor on all of these is honestly pretty solid, and for that fact, I'm gonna give it a 3. Okay, and the last one that we're going to talk about are these Beats Fit Pro, which honestly were pretty surprising. So unlike the other ones that I've talked about, these are the ones that have that like little loop that goes in the upper ear. And honestly, overall, these Beats are solid. These are probably not the best for travel, in my opinion. They do just fine in a lot of categories. And then the first category is comfort. So I will say the one plus side on these is even though I'm not usually a fan of the ones that stick in your ear, because of that with the silicone tip and just like the shape of the bud, these are surprisingly really comfortable. I honestly think that these are better in the gym because of the comfort factor and because of the way they stay in your ear. But if you're looking for a good pair of comfortable headphones, the price point on these are a little bit less than the other ones that I've talked about. But overall, the comfort factor on these is a solid 3. Okay, and the next category being noise cancellation, they get a 1. They're not very noise canceling. They have a little bit of it, but honestly, these aren't really marketed too much, as well as what I can see, they're not marketed too much as being like premium noise canceling, whereas the AirPod Pros kind of like that's their like one staple really is that they're like really good at noise canceling and things like that. I think that these kind of lack in that department, which is why I'm not sure if they're the best for travel, but because I've been using them and I know there's people out there that like this kind of design and probably would like a headphone like this, especially if you already have Beats and you're a fan, then these might be good for you on travel. But I don't think the noise canceling is there, so you might hear some screaming babies or some kids playing the cutting board drums. But luckily in the next category, I think that they do exceptionally well, and that is sound quality. These are a solid 2. They're nothing special, but they're not bad by any stretch. I feel like they're kind of on the same level as the AirPod Pros. I think they have decent bass. I think that the vocals could be better. I think that the sound mixing overall could be a little bit better, but they do really well at just capturing the normal sound with slight adjustments inside your apps if you need to. I just think they do a really good job of just just that baseline, just regular baseline. And then the final category, chargeability. These have a decent battery life. They're about a 2. As far as I can tell, the headphones actually die a little bit quicker than the other 2 that I mentioned, but the case lasts just as long, about 3 full charges. So same amount of charges, but the batteries in the headphones don't last as long that I've noticed, because I've actually used these quite a bit more than I have the Samsung Galaxy Buds, because I've been using this when I go to the rock gym or just work out in general, and that's how I'm noticing that they die a little bit quicker, but same amount of charges in the case. So chargeability, they charge fast, but they don't last as long, so that's why they get a 2. And then one thing that I didn't think to talk about on any of these in terms of category is ease of use, and they all are pretty easy to use. They all have some kind of outer function that you can click once, click twice, either pause, skip, rewind, or whatever it is. The only one that excels a little bit more is the AirPod Pros, because now they have this function where you can like hold your thumb on it and then move one hand and you can actually adjust the volume, which to me is huge. But they all have the same like press and hold to go between transparency and noise canceling while they're in your ear as well. So they all are pretty easy to use and have that like outer use without having to go into your phone and control it. Accessibility, I guess. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns about any of the headphones that I mentioned in this video, let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer those for you. Thank you guys again so very much for all the love and support you give this channel. It means the world to me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that wonderful nonsense, and I will see you next time.